Hey, what's up guys? JayzTwoCents here, and today we're going to talk about a product that was making a splash at Computex. While some companies are out there doing the best they can to try and imitate others, other companies were out there actually innovating. And today we're going to be talking about the Cooler Master MasterCase 5 and some of the upgrades available for this, because this is actually a modular case in the sense that it's not just modular on the inside, it's also modular on the outside. Now I'm gonna spare you guys the actual unboxing part of this because I'm really terrible at unboxing things. It's a good thing I'm not an unboxing channel because I would starve to death. The new Z170 classified motherboard from EVGA features 8-phase PWM, 4-way SLI support, along with top-notch components to offer gamers and enthusiasts more of what they want. A badass motherboard with no compromises. Click the link below to learn more. So here's the way that the MasterCase looks in its kind of a native naked format. You've got massive grill on the front here giving you plenty of airflow. You've got two 5 1/4 bay expandable drives. On the front, power switch, a USB 3.0, headphone jack, mic jack, or two USB 3.0, and then of course your reset button. On the top here you have two handles that are mounted directly to the frame of the case. So as you can see, you can carry your system by these. You can see they are not flimsy. Otherwise, I wouldn't be picking up the case like that. So you can transport your case that way. Speaking of lifting it up like that, on the top, you can see you have two 120 millimeter or two 140 millimeter exhaust fans on the top, or expandability, I should say. There's no fans in there. And then on the back, I'm gonna probably break an arm during this review with the way I'm twisting everything around. At the back, you have a pre-installed 140 millimeter exhaust fan. You also have right here your power supply installation bracket. If you can't tell, we're just kind of getting right into the specs on this guy. So you install the power supply to this thing, then you slide it in and screw that to the back of the case. I'm not entirely sure, I guess, why they went that route, but they did. I'm just trying to think of why they couldn't have just made it so you mount it on there the normal way. I guess they want to stick with the slide-in method. I'm not sure. I don't know if they give you a condom with it though. But it is raised up off the ground quite a bit, almost an inch actually. So if you were going to be putting this on carpet or something like that, you could still install the power supply the traditional method of the fan pointing down. You're not going to worry about your carpet clogging up the intake vent on the bottom, keeping airflow from making it into the power supply. So you could still install it the traditional method. Taking off the side panel here, of course, captive thumb screws so that you don't lose those. And then, of course, you know, thumb screws that, let's see if I can do this. Well, some manufacturers seem to think thumb screws should be installed with tools. So it is pretty much a mid-tower case, but it's a mid-tower case that makes really good use of the space available to it. So you can get really good efficiency of use of that space in the mid-tower. So all the cables inside are black, which is nice. But then again, it doesn't really matter if you're not going to be upgrading the modular aspects of the case to a side panel with a window in it. You're not going to see anything on the inside anyway. But it is nice that they do give you, all black cables. You can see here too that you have separation of the main component area of the case, as well as the power supply on the bottom. So the power supply is going to be its own little environment where the heat is not going to cross-contaminate, where if you've got load going with the machine, power supply heat is not going to make its way into the case, and vice versa. Heat in the case is not going to make its way into the power supply area, causing cross-contamination of heat. I say cross-contamination, I just don't know what other word to use, honestly. The 5 1/4 locks could not be any easier to use. You literally slide in the expansion, whatever it's going to be, fan controller, DVD, Blu-ray drive, whatever, and slide that to locked, and it's not going anywhere. So there's no tools needed, there's no parts to lose, there's none of that mess. Now you do have a box of parts right here, which is going to be radiator mounts and fan splitters and motherboard standoffs. Nice, nice black box there. You're not gonna. Normally they'll give you something that looks, cardboardy, but it's black. And then here's your flexible hard drive cage, which you simply, or sled, you just slide it on in there. Now the hard drive cages themselves are also modular, and you've got many different mounting points of where you could put those. And I'm just gonna, once again, thumb screws that apparently are not meant to be used with your thumbs. So it's actually got these little rubber tabs on the back right here that just line up in these holes, so you can literally just put it wherever you want. So right now we'll just stick it right here. Pop that in like that, and then you tighten down the screws, and then your hard drive cage is moved. And of course you can expand the amount of hard drive cages that go in here. We'll talk about that when we upgrade this to the MasterCase 5 Pro, which we're going to do in just a few minutes in this video. In fact, to prepare for that, I'm going to go ahead and remove this thing out of here entirely. All right, so you have two SSD mounts right here on the floorboard of the main compartment. They, once again, are just one captive thumb screw. You mount your SSD to it. You've got pass-through holes right here so that your SATA power and SATA cable can pass through to behind the motherboard tray, and couldn't, once again, ask for anything easier. I think ease of use is obviously a huge theme on this. This is my first time seeing this. I wasn't at Computex, so I didn't get to see any of this. On the front, you do have two 140 millimeter or two 120 millimeter fan expansions. You also have a cutout right here on the floorboard of the motherboard tray that's going to give you enough room to mount a radiator on the front if you want to go with a front mounted radiator. Now, one thing to note on the top here, at least in the standard MasterCase 5, is there's not going to be enough room for a radiator and fans, at least on the inside of the case, because you don't have enough clearance to the top of the motherboard. So natively, the MasterCase 5 in its standard format, it's not really going to be all-in-one or custom water cooling loop, at least very friendly. You could probably somehow mod it and put the radiator on top and then have the tubes come around the back or something, but that wouldn't be very pretty. Not to mention they do give you an option to upgrade that. Once again, we'll talk about that in a minute. Let's go ahead and take a look at the back side, see how much room we have in here for cable management, because that's one of the things I think really matter with cases these days, especially with first-time builders, is giving users real intuitive ways to deal with cable management. In the old days, cases just were kind of like, you're on your own, buddy. You got to figure out what to do with the cables. But manufacturers have obviously over the years learned that cable management really isn't that hard to integrate into your case. So you can see right here, we have a nice deep channel right behind where the motherboard, or right behind where the hard drive cages go. So you can route cables down here. Velcro strap already in place. And then you've got grommet here, grommet here, grommet here. You've got grommets on the bottom of the motherboard floor. You've got holes right here on the cutout for the fans, holes here for fans. And then, of course, as you can see here, the entire bottom of the case is just wide open. So having a place to put your extra cables and things you're not using are going to be entirely out of view. So this is a case where you have really no excuse to have a jumbled mess of wires. All right, so let's go ahead and do this. Now that we've kind of run through the basics, why don't we go ahead and upgrade this thing to a MasterCase 5 Pro, and let's go ahead and compare.
Transition.
So as you can see, clearly we've got a massive side window on here, but what's also kind of neat is it's got this sort of a smoked acrylic plate on the bottom that makes where the power supply is, you know, a little bit harder to see through. I mean, you can still sort of see through that. Not sure how well. See, you can still kind of see through that on the bottom, but anyway, it's nice because it brings the focus of your attention up in here into the top of the case where it matters. So the other pieces that come with the MasterCase 5 upgrade kit is more drive cages. In fact, I even have an extra one right here because I could take out the 5 1/4 bays also with captive thumb screws and put more hard drives up there, another hard drive cage up there if I don't need the 5 1/4. Now the upgrade kit is also not just about, you know, the side panel and these hard drive cages. You do get additional SSD mounting as well as water cooling support for the top. Now, simply all you have to do on the top is add this mesh piece, which you can see covers up the new radiator mounted bracket, which gives us about 25 millimeters extra height, so you could fit either two 120s or two 140s up here, as well as a 30 millimeter radiator on the bottom, and still have plenty of clearance. So you could run two 280 millimeter radiators in this if you wanted to, one on the top, one on the front, if you remove these hard drive cages. So it really depends on what your needs are. But installing the kit was actually really, really easy. It only took me a couple of minutes. The only complaint I really have though about this is that the top mesh piece doesn't really stay in place as well as I think it should. You can see it slides in and out pretty easily and comes up. So I wish that snapped in a little better, or even maybe had a captive thumb screw in the back to keep it from sliding off. So if I had any sort of, not really a complaint, but just more of an improvement to the design, I think that would have been it. But other than that, the case is pretty solid. You still retain your handles here on the top. As you can see with the side panels and everything on, we're still holding that with no problems, no flexing, no creaking. And I think that Cooler Master has done a really fantastic design with this case. A lot of companies have really focused on interior modularity, but not really anything to do with the exterior. Okay, now I've given you a demo of how it comes out of the box. I've given you a demo of how you could upgrade it to the Pro Kit. There's even another upgrade level to this that still to be determined. It's not ready yet, but it even replaces like the front and starts to look really cool with lots of aluminum and stuff in there. Now let's go ahead and talk about why I think this case exists and why I think it's a good thing. Now, I can't tell you how many times I have seen messages, both comments and Twitter and Instagram and emails and Facebook asking me, hey, you know what? I'm ready to try water cooling, but my case doesn't support water cooling. What do you recommend that I upgrade to? Now, a lot of times when people build a PC, especially if it's their first time, they'll think to themselves, I don't really want to try that water cooling stuff. That's kind of scary. We'll deal with that later. So they'll buy a case that's a small mid-tower case that maybe doesn't support very much water cooling out of the box, and then they're stuck with having to swap everything over into a new chassis once they're ready to try it out. So what this allows someone to do is buy the base kit, which looks fantastic. It's all like ninja black. You can put some lighting in there. You can go with any color scheme you want: black, blue, black, red, black, white, black, yellow, black, I guess, whatever. And over time, if you decide, well, I want to try water cooling, for just the price of the upgrade kit, you can do that. And you don't have to swap out all of your internals into another case, meaning now you have a case that you got to stick in the garage or try and sell or give away or just throw in the garbage or hopefully recycle. Now you can keep your chassis because let's hope you liked it to begin with and that's why you bought it. And now you can upgrade it as your needs and your desires and your wants and your enthusiasm for PC building evolve as well. So I really like seeing not only the interior modularity, but the exterior modularity as well. So being able to fit two 280 millimeter radiators in this is more than enough for most people. That could cool an SLI water-cooled system with 2 graphics cards and a CPU. For most graphics cards, that's not going to be an issue. Even 2 AMD graphics cards like 3090Xs could be cooled with that type of configuration. So there you go, guys. The Master 5 and the Master 5 Pro from Cooler Master. I understand now why they had some awards at Computex for this case design. And I'm actually pretty excited to do something with this. I'll be building as a project. I'll be building in this later on, probably in September, and we'll see what we can come up with. But that's all for today, guys. Tell me what you think of the modular design. Do you think Cooler Master is going in the right direction? Or do you think that they are just kind of out in left field and have no idea what they're really trying to do with this? I know what they're trying to do with this, but you guys are the customers, so speak up. They like to read these comments, and if you've got something constructive to say, do it constructively. That's how we get things done around here. All right, guys, I'm going to get out of here. Thanks for watching. Heading to Vlogger Fair in a couple of days. If you guys are going to be there, come say hi. Otherwise, just check out the vlogs while I'm there. Vlogging at Vlogger Fair is kind of a prereq. So anyway. All right, guys, we'll see you in the next one.